Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys this evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner, if this is your first time watching. And let's get straight on into it. So on the show this evening, we're going to be reacting to a story this afternoon saying that Manchester United will look to sign 4 players in the January transfer window. Of course, we'll be revealing which of the positions Manchester United are looking at. We'll also be discussing the different options in each of those positions. I'll try and make it as interactive as possible, get some of you guys' ideas as well. And we'll also be talking a little bit about a story that's come out this afternoon saying that Manchester United aren't happy with Amrabat's performances since he's joined Manchester United. And we will be discussing, should Amrabat be going back to Fiorentina? Lots and lots of other bits to get into. Get involved in the comment section as always. Have your say on everything we discuss on today's show. And do make sure to get in the live chat as well if you're watching this one live. Right, let's get straight on into it. Let's start the show off with Sofyan Amrabat. So this is coming out from Jacob Steinberg, who is a journalist for The Guardian here in the UK. Very, very credible journalist. Has done some really, really good work in the past. And he's reporting this afternoon that the concerns over Sofyan Amrabat's indifferent start have prompted Manchester United to consider a January move for a defensive midfielder. There's a bit more to the story as well, which I'll read out in a minute. But the black and white of it is Manchester United, Erik ten Hag, haven't been particularly impressed with what they've seen from Amrabat so far. And it doesn't look like Manchester United will be triggering his option to buy. So just to be very, very clear, I think the deal was £10 million as a loan fee. And then if we wanted to buy him permanently, we would have to buy, I think it was 18 million in the summer. So here we go. So the exact breakdown of what we've done so far is £8.5 million up front to Fiorentina. And then at the end of the season, we have an option to buy for £21.4 million. So it's an option. It's not mandatory. We have the option to either say no or yes. 10 million euros now, 25 million euros in the summer. That's the price in euros. 35 million euros total price. For me personally, I just don't think we need him. I don't think he's really shown me anything so far. Like people will say, he's only played 10 games. He's only had this. People have been injured. You've got an 18-year-old in Kobe Mainoo, okay, who's come in, made his Premier League debut. First ever game for Manchester United in the Premier League. Away at Everton. Just after they've been deducted 10 points. The crowd are probably the most up for it they'll ever be at Goodison Park in recent years. And he puts in an 8, 9 out of 10 performance. I don't remember him misplacing a pass. It was unbelievable. So this whole narrative of, Amrabat's only played 10 matches. Give him time. Give him a chance. I just don't really buy into it personally. I was so up for Sofyan Amrabat in the summer. Anybody who watches this channel regularly will know that I was really, really excited about Sofyan Amrabat. I just think that whenever I've seen him play, he doesn't really offer much, to be honest. And I think the only time I've actually been impressed with him is when he played at left back, genuinely. I think all of the other times he looks very average. And I don't think he's somebody that we should be buying for 25 million euros in the summer, considering we've already paid 10 million already. So for me, it's a definite no at this point. Obviously, things can change. I think he'll be gone, though. I would be absolutely shocked if Manchester United sign him permanently. And from what I'm hearing, the only reason that Manchester United got Amrabat was because Kobe Mainoo got injured. Apparently, Erik ten Hag genuinely believed Kobe Mainoo would be a first-team player this season. He was that excited about him. He was that confident on his ability that Kobe Mainoo was scheduled to be a first-team player, as in starting games. Obviously, he got injured against Arsenal in the pre-season tour, didn't he? Which set him back about 3 or 4 months. So I do think that Amrabat was a bit of a desperate signing. It was a panic signing. And I think Manchester United will rectify that. Now, things can change. Maybe Amrabat will come good. Maybe he'll play tomorrow and put in a 10 out of 10 performance and will win the game. I just don't personally see it. I think he's an okay player. I'm not saying he's rubbish. I just don't think he's worth paying 25 million euros for at the age of 27. I just don't think he's an improvement on anything we've got. McTominay isn't the same position as him, so I don't think you can compare him. Casemiro is miles better than Amrabat. I would say that Eriksen, again, isn't really the same type of player. Eriksen's more attacking. In that defensive area, I would much rather have Casemiro and Kobe Mainoo. And if neither of them, say Casemiro goes, I would much rather go and get somebody better than Sofyan Amrabat. But do have your say. Get involved in the comment section. Do you think I'm being a little bit harsh? Do you think I'm being fair? Let me know what your thoughts are on Sofyan Amrabat. AM says Amrabat didn't have a pre-season. I mean, mate, I get what you're saying, right? Kobe Mainoo, an 18-year-old, played, I think, one half against Arsenal. That was his pre-season. And then didn't play football for 4 months. He comes back and plays in the Premier League against Everton and puts in an 8, 9 out of 10 performance. So I just don't think you can say, oh, he didn't have a pre-season, he's only played 10 games, this, that and the other, when you've got somebody else in exactly the same position who's come through the youth academy. I would much rather see Kobe Mainoo play every single game than see Amrabat personally, especially as we'll have to pay 25 million euros for him as well. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Richie says Amrabat's been rubbish, overhyped. Fair enough. He also says, I said 2 weeks ago he'll be gone in January. Manchester United have the option to terminate. Okay, fair enough. I didn't know that. I thought it was a whole season. Romano says, I really thought Amrabat would make a difference, but I have not seen anything from him that wowed me at all. I would agree with you, mate. Like, anybody who watches this channel regularly knows how excited I was about Sofian Amrabat. I was going on about him constantly. I genuinely thought he would make the difference. Maybe that was naive. Maybe he's just not adapted to the Premier League. Maybe he's not as good as I thought. Maybe I watched too many clips of him on YouTube. Who knows? There's so many different possible answers to this. You know, I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he's good enough to warrant buying in the summer, personally. Now, I know we're only, 13 games into the season? But in all of those games, as I said, I think the only time I was genuinely impressed was when he played at left back. And we're not signing him as a left back. We're signing him as a centre midfielder. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think about that one. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. Romana says, we really don't need another midfielder. We have Kobe Mainoo. Manchester United has to play him and mould him into a beast. Daniel says, Amrabat hasn't impressed. Eric Ten Hag sees it too. Doesn't gel with the team. I agree with you, mate. He doesn't. He came on against Everton the other day, right? And within 30 seconds, he was giving the ball away. Whereas I don't remember Kobe Mainoo giving the ball away once. I'm sure someone will say, oh, he did at this one moment. But literally, Amrabat came on the pitch and just instantly was giving the ball away. And he's meant to be 20. Well, he is 27. He's played in the World Cup. You know, he's an international. And yeah. Daniel says, if Mainoo can impress us in one game, Amrabat has had 6 to impress us. I mean, exactly there, mate. Fred says he hasn't lived up to the hype. Exactly. I'm not slagging him off saying he's a terrible player. I just personally wouldn't bother giving them another 25 million euros for him. We've tried it. It hasn't worked. And we've seen that within our youth academy, we've got Kobe Mainoo, an 18-year-old who, whatever happens in the future, even if, he doesn't turn into the player we think he will, he's impressed me more in one game of football than Amrabat has all season. So that's my take on it. Hansi says Fiorentina and Manchester United are on a different level, so we must get rid of him. Fair enough. But off the back of that, obviously, the story then goes on to say, which is where the 4 players comes from. This is coming from the same journalist. He's got over 200,000 followers on Twitter. Very, very credible UK journalist. He says Manchester United want to sign 4 players in the January transfer window. The following positions: a right-sided centre-back, defensive midfielder, a new number 8, and a striker. I mean, that sounds great to me. I think, obviously, we definitely need another centre-back. The centre-back looks like it'll be John Claire Todibo. £30 million is what I'm hearing. That obviously, it's not done at this point, but I would be very surprised if we don't get Todibo. So he'd be the right-sided centre-back. The striker, it's looking like at the moment Manchester United will get Timo Werner on loan, so that would be the striker. In relation to the number 8 and the defensive midfielder, I think it's a little bit more uncertain at this point, to be honest. Obviously, defensive midfielder-wise, we've been linked to Fofana, who plays obviously over in the French league. We've also been linked to Amadou Onana. There's 2 or 3 different defensive midfield options that we could go and sign. In the number 8 position, I don't really understand that personally. Surely we signed Mason Mount to play in the number 8. I'm not sure about the number 8. We've got Ericsson, we've got Bruno, we've got Mason Mount. I think it's a no from me on that position, but this is what the story says, so obviously I'm just bringing you guys the news. Now, what I want you guys to do is to get in the comment section and let me know, if we were to sign 4 players this summer, a right-sided centre-back, a defensive midfielder, a number 8 and a striker, who should those 4 players be in the January transfer window? I would imagine we won't have more than about 50 or 60 million pounds total budget to spend. Obviously, Donny van der Beek will go, Jadon Sancho will go. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe 1 or 2 other players leave as well. Obviously, there's the potential that Varane could leave. There's the potential that Casemiro could leave. I do think it'll be quite a busy window in relation to outgoings, because we know that Sancho's going to go and we know that Donny van der Beek's going to go. Then it's just whether maybe someone like Varane leaves. Maybe he's not happy with the amount of game time he gets. I think the biggest indication will be this game tomorrow against Galatasaray. If Varane doesn't start that game tomorrow, I genuinely think he'll leave in January, because this is probably the biggest game of Manchester United's season. If we lose tomorrow, we're out of the Champions League. You've got a player there who's won 5 Champions Leagues and the World Cup. If Erik ten Hag doesn't pick him for that match and picks Lindelof or Johnny Evans, I think that says it all for me. And if I'm Varane and I'm sat there not being picked for the biggest game of our season, in the most hostile atmosphere of the season, in a competition that he's won 5 times, I would be saying to my team, get me out of here. This isn't working. I'm not, I'm clearly not part of the manager's plans, and I would go. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let's have a look. Let's see what else we got. Franco says Todibo, Thuram, Werner, and possibly Fofana. Yeah. Flipping Football says, do we have the money to buy 4 players? I would imagine that 2 at least of the 4 players would be a loan. So obviously Timo Werner would be a loan. Todibo, we're talking about 30 million. And then I would imagine it would be 1 or 2 more loans. So we'll have to wait and see. Kai says, Kieran, who would you sign realistically? So in January, if we're talking about those 4 positions, I would go with Todibo as the centre-back. I would get Werner on loan if he's available. Like, why would you not do that? In relation to the CDM position, I'm a little bit less sure about who I would go with at this exact moment, to be very honest with you. I do like Fofana, who obviously plays in the French league. I think Amadou Onana's okay. I think he'd be an okay option, but is he worth 50 million? I'm not sure. There's no one really massively jumping out for me, to be completely honest, in the CDM position right now. The only player that's jumping out at me is Kobe Mainoo. But I know we can't 100% rely on him. What happens if he gets injured? What happens if his form dips? What happens if something happens, But yeah, let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. Somebody says, we definitely need a number 8 or a CDM, because the only player we have to do that role is Mainoo and Casemiro. Yeah, fair enough. Fred says, Mainoo is the future along with the rest of the youngsters. Alan says we should go for Antonio Silva in January. The thing with Antonio Silva, mate, is we spoke about him on the show this morning. He is available in the summer, 100 million euros release clause. We won't be able to do that kind of business in January, I don't think. I think we're going to be looking at maybe 50 to 60 million pounds tops worth of players. I would imagine we'll probably sign 1 or 2 people and then maybe get 1 or 2 people on loan. That's what I am expecting for this January window. I would be absolutely shocked with, us spending 100 million. Lumen says, Kieran, you're the only content creator who is okay with Timo Werner coming to Manchester United. I don't really understand that, though. What other option do we have? We know we're probably going to get 50 million pounds tops. Who else can you get on loan? I don't know. What's the other option? A 6-month loan for Timo Werner. Yes, he didn't succeed at Chelsea, but how many players have failed at Chelsea? What's there not to be okay about with Timo Werner? If I said to you, you could have Timo Werner on loan till the end of the season, or you have nothing, what would you pick? Because I think that's the situation we're in. You're not going to get Osimhen. We're probably not going to have the money to get someone like Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord. I mean, that's going to cost you 40 million. We're not going to get... I mean, would you rather buy Taremi from Porto, a 31-year-old, for 10, 15 million? I just think, you sign someone for 6 months, you let him go in the summer, Martial's contract's up in the summer, and then you go and buy another striker. It's pretty easy for me. It doesn't really take much energy to work out why that deal would make sense. We're Manchester United, and we don't have the money that everyone wants. We're not Chelsea, who are going to go and probably sign Osimhen or Ivan Toney. Our window of opportunity for strikers are loans or people who are 30-year-old plus, who we might be able to get for 10 or so million. That's the options that we have at the moment. So I don't really see any other solution. Alan says maybe Greenwood returns in January. Yeah, I mean, obviously that is a possibility. I mean, if Greenwood comes back, then we probably wouldn't need a striker. But I'll be honest with you, at this point, I don't think Mason Greenwood will come back. I don't. I think that we'll most likely try and sell him, I think. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, I don't know that for sure. Lumen says, Kieran, isn't us getting Werner the same as Arsenal getting Havertz? Too risky. Mate, there's zero risk in it at all. We're getting somebody on loan. We're getting him on loan. We'd pay his wages. Where's the risk in that? Arsenal, how much did they spend on Havertz? Like, it's a completely different thing. Put it this way, right? If the story was Manchester United are going to buy Timo Werner for 50 million in January, I would say that's absolutely stupid. Okay? Arsenal have just spent 75 million euros of their own money on Havertz. So I don't think it's really comparable. I think that is risky, spending 75 million on Havertz. But signing somebody on loan and paying his wages and then in the summer saying goodbye, I see zero risk in that for me personally. Literally zero. But yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I just don't see how there's any risk personally. I'm just having a look here. He's on 150 grand a week at Leipzig. Let me put it this way for you, right? Donny van der Beek is on about 150 grand a week. What would you rather have? Let's simplify this. Donny van der Beek leaves in January. You've got 150 grand wages left in your weekly budget. Now, do you sit on that 150 grand and do nothing with it? Or do you go and give it to Timo Werner? I would go and give it to Timo Werner. Why not? It's only going to strengthen your squad. We've got Rasmus Højlund up front, who I think is going to be one of the best strikers in the world. But at the moment, seems to be getting a couple of injuries, hasn't found his form in the Premier League yet. And you've got Anthony Martial, who, let's be honest, obviously will leave in the summer. But can we rely on those two for the second half of the season? I don't think so. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer for me. Obviously, if people have different opinions, let me know in the comment section. If you think I'm talking rubbish, then that's obviously completely fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But let me know what you think. James says, you're not the only person saying Werner is a good deal. I just listened to House and saying exactly the same thing. Okay, cool. There you go. Somebody in the chat said that I'm the only person on the internet saying that the Werner deal makes sense. So obviously I responded to that. I think there's zero risk in it. Zero risk. Like, I think it's a sensible deal to do. And I think then that just gives us a little bit more time to work out who we want as our permanent striker in the summer. We know Anthony Martial will leave. We know that then his 250 grand per week wages will be gone because we won't be paying them anymore. And we then go and buy another striker. It's easy. It's simple. And Timo Werner won't be that striker. I would not want Timo Werner, even if he scored 10 goals, right? Even if Timo Werner came in and he got 10 goals in the second half of the season, I would still say, thank you, goodbye. You know, it's a short-term deal just to see us through to the summer. Like, we're not going to go and sign a Victor Osimhen in January. It's simply not going to happen. This isn't FIFA. This isn't Football Manager. This is Manchester United. This is Manchester United under the Glazers with a little bit of Sir Jim Ratcliffe involved as well. It's simply not going to happen. Lumen replied saying, Kieran, just because we're getting a player on loan doesn't mean we don't consider quality. Weghorst, for example, we gain nothing from him. I think Timo Werner is levels above Weghorst. Let's be clear here. Like, they're not on the same level. Weghorst was a Burnley player. Weghorst literally played most of his career at Burnley. And Weghorst is 31 years of age. Like, yes, Timo Werner didn't work out at Chelsea, but before he went to Chelsea, he was a quality player. Chelsea didn't sign him for no reason. He was at Red Bull Leipzig, wasn't he? And he was getting some really, really good... He was doing really, really well there, to be fair. And that was why they obviously signed him. I'm just having a quick look at his stats. Obviously, this season, he's got 2 goals in 8 games. Like, yes, that's not great. Last season, he got 22 goals and assists in 40 matches. He averaged a goal and assist every other game for Leipzig. I mean, I'd be absolutely delighted with that return. If he came in and got, say, 10 goals and assists in 20 games for us, I'd be very happy with that. And then for Chelsea, he got 4 goals in 21 matches. I mean, obviously, yeah, that's not great. But if you think that Højlund's played, 12 games and he hasn't scored a single goal in the Premier League yet. So I think it's easy to criticise somebody and easy to say, oh, he's not good enough. We're Manchester United. Manchester United at the moment are a team that battle for top 4. Like, I think he is good enough for Manchester United. And if you go to the season before that, before he went to Chelsea, he got 28 goals in 34 matches for Leipzig. So he definitely is a quality player, but he's just obviously not in form at the moment. Benjamin says he's gone back to Leipzig and he's been rubbish. Mate, he's got 2 goals and an assist in 8 matches. How many goals has Højlund got this season in the Premier League? Let me know. Because we're saying somebody's not good enough who's got 2 goals and an assist in 8 Bundesliga matches, right? Yet our striker has played 9 games in the Premier League, has got no goals and no assists. So does that mean that you're saying that Højlund's not good enough? If you're saying that 2 goals and an assist in 8 matches in the Bundesliga is not good enough for Manchester United's quality, but 0 goals and 0 assists in 9 games for Højlund is good enough. Like, do you see where I'm going with this? It's not like we have a striker who's scoring 30 goals in a season and we're about to bring in someone who scored 1 to help him. Like, they're you know, anyway, that's my take on it. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah. Hendrik says United must bring in Taremi on loan if they are to get into the top 4. I mean, Taremi is obviously an option, but why would Porto loan out Taremi? Taremi is playing regularly for Porto. And the thing is as well, right, I was very, very up for getting Taremi in the summer because his stats last season were really, really good. This year, he's only got 3 goals in 16 matches. Like, that's not that good, is it? I mean, arguably, I just said that Timo Werner's got 2 goals in 8 matches. Taremi's got 3 goals in 16 matches. So technically, Werner, based on the amount of minutes played, is actually getting more goals per minute than Taremi. So, like, do you see where this argument goes? It gets a little bit like silly. At the moment, let's just be very, very clear about this, right? I'm going to wrap up the show, but let me be very, very clear. We are scraping the barrel. I will admit that. Do I want to sign Timo Werner? Do I dream at night that Timo Werner is going to be wearing a Manchester United shirt? No. Is that the level that I want Manchester United to be at? No. But is that the reality we live in now? Yes. Like, that's just the reality of it. So what's the point of me being absolutely devastated that we're signing Timo Werner when in realisticness, I think he probably is the level of Manchester United at this current moment in time. I genuinely do. But let me know if you think I'm crazy. That's obviously completely fine. Daniel says Tony in January would be a good move. Mate, I would love to get Ivan Toney, but he's going to cost you probably 70, 80 million pounds. 70, 80 million pounds. We had to scrape around the back of the sofa to get Amrabat on deadline day. We were selling off our youth players just to be able to get the money together to sign Amrabat. You know, Omari Forson, Zidane Iqbal. Like, we were selling off all these players for like £500,000 just to get the money together. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's joined me. I will obviously be back tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. UK time. Before you leave, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe if this is your first time watching. This has been Daily Red Devil. Have a lovely evening, everyone, and I'll speak to you all soon.